According to a centuries-old tradition, the fate of the entirety of the British Empire rests in the tiny metaphorical hands of an unkindness of ravens. Ravens who, in an attempt to stop them flying away and ending it all as far as Britain is concerned, are given the best care money can provide and an infinite supply of beef, which hasn't stopped several of the ravens somehow being fired from the job of being a bird for fucking off to the pub.
I'm so confused.
Isn't that a great sentence?
Yeah, I'm just sat here like, what?
Yeah. Well, let's just break down some of the claims I made in that introduction, shall we, Nisha? First of all, that the fate of the British Isles lies in the hands of some birds. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Well, for people like Nisha who aren't aware, there is a centuries-old tradition, apparently, and we can get to that in a moment, that if the Tower of London ever finds itself bereft of ravens, the crown, and by extension, Britain will fall. And the story goes that, being a superstitious lot, people in history just ensured that the tower was always crammed full of ravens. And that is a tradition that continues through to the modern day, with a small unkindness of 6 to 8 ravens, with 6 being the legal amount they have to have at all times, and the other 2 being the spare ravens.
So where does this superstition come from?
We don't know.
Of course.
Yeah, nobody knows, but we still do it because
Yeah.
people are that terrified that it's going to destroy all of Britain if the ravens fly away. And there are some stories that say it goes all the way back hundreds of years. And there are other stories that contest the superstition is a little bit more modern and it only dates back to World War II. The thing is, though, you might be wondering, folks, well, can't the ravens just fly away? The answer is no, they can't, because their flight feathers are trimmed. So they can't fly. They can only jump and fly small distances.
I thought you were going to say something like they're chained up or something like that.
Just sellotaped. Just sellotape them to the outside of the tower. Do you know that episode of Rick and Morty? Where evil Morty just has the millions of Mortys just strapped to the outside of the tower? Just that with ravens.
Yeah, that's what I imagine, yeah.
There's a bunch of people strapped all over that building. Not people, Morty. Mortys.
Just the Queen stands on top of it, dressed like Magneto. It's like Britain
God.
will never fall.
Oh, it's an amazing image.
Well, no, it's just there's 6 to 8 ravens in a nice little cage. They can fly around a little bit, but their flight feathers are trimmed every couple of weeks so they can't fly long distances. But every now and again, people forget to do that and the ravens just fuck off.
I was going to say, imagine having that job of having to trim their wings.
Oh, funnily enough, Nisha, do you want to guess who the job of protecting the ravens falls to?
I have no idea.
It is a member of the British military call of the Raven Master.
Oh, you kidding?
Raven Master. That's his job. I believe that's a special title held by one of the Beefeaters. And I don't know what the Beefeaters are actually called because their name's super fucking long. So I'm going to Google Beefeaters right now, just so I can get the full name that they technically have, which is the Yeoman Warders of Her Majesty's Royal Palace and the Fortress of the Tower of London, and members of the Sovereign's Bodyguard of the Yeoman Guard Extraordinary, popularly known as the Beefeaters. So you probably see why it gets shortened to that.
Yeah, that's a very long title.
But there is a member of that group which is called the Raven Master.
That
and
sounds so cool.
And it's his job to ensure the ravens are safe, happy, and do not fly away. And that's even better, because that guy's one job is make sure there's always a couple of ravens, and sometimes there's just ravens disappearing. Imagine he's a fucking raven that can't fly.
He accidentally wakes up late one morning and some of the ravens disappear. He's like, fuck's sake.
So he just looks out of his window and 28 days later has happened. He's like, oh god, no. Did I leave the cage door open?
I overslept by half an hour.
But let's go back to the intro and continue breaking down the claims that I made. And the other is that the ravens are given the best care money can provide and infinite beef. That is also true because the Raven Master, his job is making sure those ravens are very happy. And those ravens are treated effectively like royalty because they are there by royal decree.
Yeah.
And to attack those ravens is seen as an attack on the crown. So they are protected all to balls. Like you could go to prison for punching one of them ravens. Which you might want to do, considering the ravens can fly around the in London throughout the day, in little short hops. And they have been known to attack and bite guests and just raid shit out of bins.
Oh, shit.
And there was a great picture, I need to find it, because this is an actual tweet from, I think, the Tower of London. During lockdown, it's the ravens aren't happy because they can't go to the bins anymore because there's no guests in the park. And just look at the raven. He's just so mad. It's so mad
Oh,
that
it
it
is
can't
raging.
eat chips out the bin. But Nisha, I continue because one of my other claims that the birds sometimes get fired for being birds. And you might be wondering, folks at home, how does a bird get fired? Well, technically, these ravens are not just birds. They're considered soldiers of the kingdom. Because they're technically soldiers, they can be dismissed for inappropriate behaviour.
Just imagine me getting called into the office, like, I'm sorry, we have to let you go.
That's
It's
like,
like, ah!
oh, what are you doing? Oh, are you scavenging in bins again? It's like, yeah, good job.
So
keep it up.
is that classed as inappropriate behaviour?
No, they do that all the time. Like, they make fun of that. They love it. But
So what would you call inappropriate then?
what I would call inappropriate behaviour, Nisha, is one of the final claims I made, which is fucking off to the pub. Because there was a case where one of the birds didn't have all of its feathers trimmed properly, and as a result was able to fly away, and which it did. Very far away to a nearby pub, which is the last place it was spotted by a member of the public. Just the idea that the bird flew away and then went to the pub.
Clearly had a rough day at work and needed a pint.
It had a rough day of sitting there and having food brought to it, like a tiny feathered sultan.
Is there anything else that the Ravens have done?
There is, yes. There was a raven called George. That's a sentence. A raven called George who was fired and sent to live in Wales for attacking TV aerials. Other uncouth behaviour observed in the ravens include attacking random members of the public, and my favourite one is pretending to be dead.
What?
As you might imagine, given that the fate of these ravens is intrinsically linked, according to superstition, with the fate of Britain itself.
Yeah.
They say if these ravens fly away, the crown will fall, Britain with it. So when these ravens are in poor health, that's a cause for concern.
Mm-hmm.
And when ravens are sick, they get tended to and they get a lot of attention, which ravens being quite smart birds, like the other ones in the cages, they don't like this because they want the attention. So some of them will pretend to be dead and just lie upside down.
Just play impossible.
They'll lie upside down with their feet in the air, and then when people go up to pick them up to help them, they'll bite them and fly away. And it's like, I respect it.
Oh my god. Just the image of it with his little feet in the air.
It's like, oh no, the crown has fallen. Boop. That's it. And to be honest, that's probably something I'd do if I knew I could get away with it and was also a bird. So Nisha, do you have any superstitions?
Not really. I used to be scared of, what was it?
Please
Oh,
say
I'm
something
trying to-
stupid. Please say
It was-
pillows. Please say pillows or cotton
No,
wool.
it was something really stupid because there was a superstition of you're not supposed to cut your nails on a Sunday. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know, but I cut my nails on a Sunday, and then the next day I went ice skating and fell over and injured my wrist.
How much a mistake? How much a mistake? Why did you do that?
Ever since then, I'm like, was it
the nails?
Was it
If
the
I had
nails?
nails, I'd have a grip better and I wouldn't have hurt my wrist. My family is quite superstitious. My mum is terrified of magpies and stuff.
Oh.
She doesn't like them because it's bad news. It's bad news. It's a bird, mum. All birds are bad news. Just leave it alone. But she really doesn't like those. You got to salute the magpie. The magpie doesn't care if you salute it or not. If anything, you're just giving it a complex.
It's with black cats as well. I feel sorry for them because I think black cats are less adopted because people are superstitious.
Well, it's the number 13. Something I invite people to do if you go to a hotel and it's quite tall is look for floor 13. Because most of the time there is no floor 13 in the hotel. There is technically, it's just 12 then 14. And that's because just years and years and years ago, hoteliers looked at their numbers and went, well, people don't book rooms on floor 13. Likewise, people generally don't like staying in room 13. And because of that, it's not like no one's staying in those rooms, but less people are. That's not great because we want to fill our hotel. So they just fuck it, just take 13 off, it's 12, 14 now. And apparently that fixes it. I personally don't ascribe to any superstitions like that, but I am fascinated by the concept. And I believe there was a study done on people who claim to be not very superstitious. And it's one of my favourite studies ever because it involved asking the person to get a picture of a loved one and violently stab it with a knife.
What?
Just to see. It's are you superstitious? No. This picture of your wife? Yeah. Stab it. He's like, no, I don't want to do that. Why? Do you think something bad's going to happen? Well, no. Well, stab it then. No, I don't want to do that. Because even people who claim not to be superstitious still have some buried deep inside the recesses of their mind. Just I like the idea of a scientist in a lab coat handing you a knife, stab the photo. I'm like, no, I do not want to stab the photo.